brought to you by Soundlibra.com. You can find a direct link to our full library in the description of this audio, or visit us anytime at Soundlibra.com. This is The Calm Leader with Alex and Lisa.
Welcome. Before we dive in, a quick note that while we're discussing the psychology of leadership, this isn't medical advice. Always consult a professional for your specific health needs. Today, we begin building a foundation for leading with composure, especially during challenging times.
Calm leadership means managing your emotional responses, thinking clearly, and inspiring confidence. Picture a ship's captain in a storm. They can't calm the waves, but they can steer the ship with a steady hand. That's calm leadership.
So, calm leadership isn't about ignoring feelings, but about handling them effectively. Why is this so critical for leaders?
Leaders set the emotional tone. If a leader is agitated, that feeling spreads to the team. A leader's calmness creates stability, while their panic can lead to a team-wide crisis.
So, by managing our own stress, we're helping our teams perform better. It's a powerful ripple effect.
Exactly. To achieve this, we must first understand what happens within us during stress. It's our ancient survival instincts at work. Have you ever felt your heart race, your hands sweat, or your thoughts spin when facing a sudden challenge?
Oh, definitely. It feels so automatic.
It is to a point. Our bodies have a built-in alarm system, the fight or flight response. It's an automatic reaction to perceived danger. When our brain's threat detectors, a part called the amygdala, sense danger, it alerts the entire body.
So, the amygdala is like the body's alarm system, constantly scanning for trouble?
That's a great way to describe it. When it signals danger, it triggers physical changes. Your adrenal glands release hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline provides a surge of energy, increasing your heart rate and blood pressure, preparing you to either confront the threat, fight, or escape, flight.
It sounds like a very potent, very old system.
It is. This system is perfect for immediate physical dangers, like avoiding a wild animal. Those hormones sharpen your senses, focus your attention on the threat, and temporarily shut down less critical bodily functions to maximize survival energy. However, our brains can mistake modern challenges for actual threats, activating this same fight or flight response.
Like, what kind of challenges? A tight deadline? A difficult conversation?
Precisely. A demanding deadline, a critical email, a complex problem. Our brains can interpret these as dangers. This triggers the fight or flight response, often leading to what we call chronic stress.
Ah, that makes sense. So that's why we feel that physical stress even when there's no immediate physical danger. Our biology is reacting to the modern world.
That's right. And when this response happens frequently, it can cause problems. Our rational thinking, governed by the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for decision-making, gets suppressed. It's as if the amygdala screams, danger, and the rest of the brain must comply. This means that stress actively impairs your ability to think clearly and make well-reasoned decisions.
That explains why, when I'm highly stressed, I sometimes make impulsive decisions that I later regret. My thinking is definitely muddled.
Exactly. And this is where calm leadership becomes so important. A calm leader understands this biological reaction. They recognize that feeling stressed is natural, but they've developed ways to manage it, preventing it from derailing their judgment and impacting their team's morale. It all begins with awareness. You need to be aware of your own personal triggers, the physical signs of stress within you, and how your emotional state affects others.
So, the first step is noticing that the fight or flight response is happening and understanding that it's a natural bodily reaction to perceived threats.
Yes, awareness is fundamental, the absolute first step. You can't manage something you haven't acknowledged. Once you're aware, you can start using tools and techniques to regulate that response. That's what we'll explore throughout this series. We'll cover how to identify your personal stress triggers, how to manage your emotional reactions, how to communicate calmly, and how to build resilience in yourself and your team.
So, today we've established that calm leadership is about effectively managing emotions, not ignoring them. We've also explored the fight or flight response, understanding our biology's reaction to perceived danger. We learned that this response can cloud our judgment and that a leader's composure is essential for providing stability and enabling clear decision-making for the team.
Precisely, Lisa. This understanding of the stress response is the vital foundation on which we'll build your skills for leading with composure. It's the starting point for transforming how you lead when facing pressure.
It's fascinating to consider our own bodies and how they're designed. It makes the idea of staying calm feel much more achievable, knowing it's a skill we can actively cultivate.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll conclude episode 1. In our next episode, we'll focus on practical, immediate tools to help you manage that stress response the moment it begins to surface. Next episode, Taming the Stress Response, Immediate Tools for Leaders. Welcome back. Last time we explored the foundation of calm leadership. Now let's tackle taming the stress response.
That's right, Alex. Last episode was all about setting the stage, understanding why a calm demeanor is crucial. Today, we're giving our listeners the keys to unlock that composure in the moment. We'll be providing immediate tools leaders can use when they feel that familiar surge of stress, that tightening in the chest, or that racing mind.
Exactly. When we're under pressure, our body's natural stress response kicks in. This is often called the fight or flight response. It's an ancient survival mechanism, but in a modern workplace, it can sometimes do more harm than good, clouding our judgment and making us reactive rather than strategic.
So, this response, the fight or flight thing, it's like our body going on high alert?
Precisely. Your heart rate picks up, your breathing gets shallow, your muscles tense, and your brain focuses on perceived threats. It's designed to help you escape danger, but when that danger is a tight deadline or a difficult conversation, that same response can make it harder to think clearly and make sound decisions.
That makes so much sense. I've definitely felt that surge and then found it hard to collect my thoughts. So, what are some of the immediate tools to combat this? How do we gently tell our body, okay, danger averted, you can stand down?
One of the most powerful and accessible tools is mindful breathing. We all breathe constantly, but we rarely do it with intention. When stress hits, our breath becomes shallow and rapid. By consciously slowing down and deepening our breath, we send a signal to our nervous system to calm down.
Mindful breathing. It sounds simple, but how do you actually do it when you're feeling overwhelmed?
It is simple, and that's its strength. Find a moment, even just 30 seconds. First, just notice your breath without trying to change it. Then begin to lengthen your exhales. Try breathing in gently through your nose and exhaling slowly through your mouth. Imagine you're trying to fog up a mirror without making a sound. The exhale is key for activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the body's rest and digest mode, counteracting that fight or flight response.
So, focusing on the exhale. That's a great takeaway. Inhale, and then a longer, slower exhale, almost like a gentle sigh. Does it matter how deep the inhale is?
It's more about the awareness and the lengthened exhale. You don't need to force a deep inhale, just a natural, comfortable inhale, and then a deliberate, extended exhale. You can even try counting. Breathe in for a count of 4 and out for a count of 6, for example. This simple act of controlling your breath anchors you in the present moment and disrupts the stress cycle.
That's brilliant. A simple count can make such a difference. So, that's mindful breathing. What's another tool we can use?
Another effective technique is grounding. When we're stressed, our minds can race, pulling us into the past or catastrophizing the future. Grounding techniques bring you back to the present moment, connecting you to your physical self and your immediate surroundings.
Grounding, like connecting to the earth?
In a way, yes. One very common grounding technique is the 5-4-3-2-1 method. It's a sensory exercise. You identify 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste.
Oh, I like that. It forces your brain to focus on your senses, which pulls you out of that mental spiral.
Exactly. It's a structured way to re-engage with reality. When you're stressed, you might feel disconnected or detached. Grounding brings you back into your body and into the here and now. Imagine you're in a high-stakes meeting and you feel that wave of anxiety rising. You can discreetly use this method. Look around the room and silently name 5 things you see. Feel the texture of your desk or your clothing. Name 4 things you can touch. Listen for 3 sounds. Even if you can't actively smell or taste, you can acknowledge that. It's about shifting your focus outward.
And the repetition of naming things also helps to reinforce that anchor in the present. So we have mindful breathing and grounding techniques like the 5-4-3-2-1 method. What about our internal monologue? The thoughts that often accompany stress?
That's where reframing comes in. This is about shifting your perspective on a stressful situation. It's not about ignoring the problem, but about challenging the negative interpretations that fuel your stress.
Reframing. So if my first thought is, this is a disaster, reframing would be changing that thought. But how do you do that effectively? It feels like a thought is just a thought.
It can feel that way, but our thoughts have a powerful impact on our emotions and our actions. When you notice a negative, catastrophic thought, pause and ask yourself, is this thought 100% true? What evidence do I have to support it? What evidence contradicts it? What's a more balanced or helpful way to look at this?
So, it's about becoming a detective of your own thoughts, looking for the facts versus the assumptions.
Precisely. Let's say you're facing a difficult project with an unexpected obstacle. Your initial thought might be, this is impossible. I'm going to fail. Reframing could involve asking, is it truly impossible or just challenging? What resources might I have? Who could I ask for help? What's the worst that could realistically happen? And could I handle that? This shifts you from a passive victim of circumstance to an active problem solver.
That's powerful. It turns a dead end into a path forward. So, to recap for our listeners, we've discussed 3 key immediate tools. First, mindful breathing, focusing on slowing and deepening the exhale to calm the nervous system. Second, grounding techniques like the 5-4-3-2-1 method to anchor you in the present moment through your senses. And third, reframing, which involves challenging and adjusting negative or catastrophic thought patterns.
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. These are not magic bullets, of course. They require practice. But the beauty of these techniques is their immediacy and accessibility. You can use mindful breathing before a presentation, grounding during a tense phone call, or reframing when you're reviewing performance feedback. They empower you to manage your internal state, rather than letting your external circumstances dictate it.
And practicing them when you're not stressed makes them much easier to access when you are. Like a muscle that gets stronger with regular training.
Couldn't have said it better. These are the foundational skills for a calm leader. By mastering them, you create space for cooler, more strategic thinking, which will be crucial as we explore more advanced leadership strategies in the coming episodes.
So, in essence, we're learning to intercept that stress response before it takes over, giving us back control.
That's the goal. Taming the stress response means you're not just reacting to pressure, you're actively managing it, turning potential derailers into opportunities for focused action.
I feel much more equipped already. Thank you, Alex.
My pleasure. And for our listeners, remember to practice these tools. Make them a habit. The next time you feel that stress creeping in, try a slow exhale or engage with your 5 senses. You'll be amazed at the difference it can make.
Next episode, we'll delve deeper into the incredible power of self-awareness and how understanding your personal triggers is the next vital step in cultivating that unshakable calm.
Welcome back to The Calm Leader. We explored immediate tools for taming stress. Today, we're diving deep into self-awareness to unmask your triggers.
That's right, Alex. Because lasting calm leadership comes from understanding why we get stressed. It's about knowing yourself and what pushes your buttons.
Exactly. What rattles one leader might be a minor inconvenience to another. Think about a sudden request from a key stakeholder. For one, it's a challenge. For another, it triggers panic, an off-balance feeling, and anxious thoughts.
So, the first step is observation, right? Becoming a detective of your own emotions. Notice when and under what circumstances you feel stressed.
Precisely. Let's explore common leadership scenarios and potential triggers, then talk about recognizing them in yourself. Self-awareness is about understanding, not judgment.
Okay, Alex, what are some pressure cookers for leaders where triggers often hide?
One potent trigger is unforeseen criticism, feedback from a team member, client, or superior. For some, criticism feels like a personal attack, leading to defensiveness, anger, or shutdown. Their trigger is the perceived threat to their competence or reputation.
I get that. It feels like their core belief about being capable is challenged.
Spot on. Another is lack of control. Leaders like to feel in charge. When circumstances spiral or decisions are out of their hands, it's unsettling. This can manifest as anxiety, frustration, or attempts to regain power, sometimes leading to micromanagement.
If you're used to steering the ship, a storm you can't control is terrifying.
Indeed, then we have conflicting priorities or demands. Juggling a critical deadline, an urgent team issue, and a strategy meeting request at once. The pressure to be everything to everyone can be overwhelming. For many, this overload triggers feelings of inadequacy or burnout.
It's like trying to pat your head and rub your stomach while juggling flaming torches. The impossibility is the trigger.
A perfect analogy. Let's add vague or ambiguous expectations. When a leader isn't clear on success, or when instructions are fuzzy, it creates anxiety. The fear of failure due to not understanding the task can lead to procrastination or needing constant reassurance.
So, it's not just the task, but the uncertainty around it. The unknown is a huge mental hurdle.
Absolutely. And finally, perceived injustice or unfairness. Watching a less deserving colleague get promoted, seeing a team member treated unfairly, or feeling rules bent for others. A strong sense of fairness, when faced with its opposite, can trigger anger, disillusionment, and a crisis of trust.
Those are common scenarios. How do we identify our specific triggers? Everyone reacts differently to criticism.
That's the core of self-awareness. It's about internal observation. Start a trigger journal. After a stressful situation, jot down what happened. Be specific. The situation, who was involved, what you were asked to do.
And then, how did you feel?
Exactly. Don't just say stressed. Go deeper. Were you anxious, annoyed, frustrated, helpless, inadequate, embarrassed? Use descriptive words. What were your immediate thoughts? I can't handle this. This isn't fair. They don't respect me. What if I fail?
So, it's a trifecta: the situation, the emotion, and the thought.
Precisely. Over time, you'll see patterns. Vague expectations might consistently lead to anxiety and the thought, I'm going to mess this up. Or public criticism might always bring up anger and the thought, they're out to get me. These patterns are your personal triggers.
This is so powerful. It shines a spotlight on derailers. Can you give us a practical example?
Certainly. Imagine a leader, Sarah. Sarah reacts poorly when her manager gives feedback that sounds abrupt. She becomes defensive, interrupts, or shuts down. In her journal, she notes, situation, manager gives feedback on a report. Emotion, irritation, feeling defensive. Thought, he always criticizes my work. He doesn't appreciate anything I do.
So, Sarah's trigger isn't just any feedback, but feedback from her manager, especially if it feels abrupt. And her underlying thought is about being unappreciated.
Correct. Identifying this, Sarah can prepare. She might realize her manager's abrupt style isn't malicious, just his communication style. Knowing this, next time, she can remind herself, this is his style. What's the actual feedback? She can focus on listening, asking clarifying questions, and consciously pausing before responding, rather than immediately getting defensive.
That's brilliant. By understanding her specific trigger, feedback from her manager, and her thought about being unappreciated, she can intercept the stress response.
Exactly. It's about that moment of recognition. When you feel that familiar flutter of anxiety, that tightening in your chest, or rush of frustration, pause and ask, what is happening? What am I feeling? What thought is running through my head?
And that pause, that recognition, is where choice lies. Instead of automatically reacting, you can choose a more deliberate, calm response.
You've summarized it perfectly, Lisa. This is the essence of unmasking your triggers. It's a process of deep introspection. To recap for our listeners, first, identify common leadership scenarios that cause stress. Second, observe your emotional and thought patterns in those scenarios. Third, look for recurring patterns. These are your personal triggers. And fourth, when a trigger is activated, pause, recognize it, and consciously choose a constructive response.
It's not about eliminating stressors. Many are unavoidable. It's about understanding how you uniquely react and building the awareness to manage those reactions. This self-awareness is the foundation for all other calm leadership skills.
It truly is. By understanding your triggers, you gain a remarkable level of control, allowing you to lead with greater composure and effectiveness.
And next time, we'll build on this foundation by cultivating something equally vital, emotional intelligence.
Don't miss it. Welcome back to The Calm Leader. Last time, we dove deep into self-awareness and started uncovering what really makes us tick. Today, we're building on that crucial foundation by diving into the heart of emotional intelligence.
That's right, Alex. Self-awareness was all about looking inward, understanding our own emotions and triggers. Now, we're going to explore how to not only understand those emotions, but also how to manage them and, importantly, understand and influence the emotions of others.
Exactly. So, what exactly is emotional intelligence, or EI as it's often called? At its core, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and defuse conflict.
A superpower we can all develop. That sounds incredibly useful, especially for leaders. Can you break down the components of emotional intelligence for us?
Absolutely. Most experts agree that EI has four key components. The first, and one we've already touched upon, is self-awareness. This is your ability to recognize and understand your emotions, your moods, your drives, and how they affect others. It's that conscious moment of knowing, I'm feeling frustrated right now.
So, it's really the bedrock. If you don't know you're feeling something, you can't possibly manage it.
Precisely. The second component is self-regulation. This is about controlling or redirecting disruptive impulses and moods. It's the ability to think before you act, to manage your emotional reactions so they don't control you. Instead of lashing out in anger, You pause, you breathe, and you choose a constructive response.
That's the discipline part, isn't it? It's not about suppressing emotions, but about channeling them in a healthy way.
Exactly. It's about responsiveness, not reactivity. The third component is social awareness. This is understanding the emotions of others, their concerns, and their perspectives. It's about empathy. When you can sense what others are feeling, even if they're not explicitly saying it, you can respond more effectively.
This is where you start looking outwards, right? Seeing how your actions land with others.
You got it. And the fourth component, which builds on the others, is relationship management. This is about skillfully guiding people's emotions and building strong relationships. It involves clear communication, conflict resolution, and inspiring others. It's putting all the previous components into action to build connections and achieve common goals.
So, to recap, self-awareness to know yourself, self-regulation to manage yourself, social awareness to understand others, and relationship management to work effectively with them. That's a powerful combination.
It truly is. Now, how do we cultivate this? Let's start with understanding and labeling our own emotions. Sometimes just giving a name to a feeling can reduce its power over us. For example, instead of just saying, I feel bad, can you pinpoint it? Are you feeling disappointed, annoyed, overwhelmed, anxious?
That's a great point. I know for myself, when I can label an emotion, it feels less like a chaotic storm and more like a defined cloud. It's less scary.
Exactly. Let's try a quick exercise. Picture this. You're in a meeting and a colleague makes a critical comment about your work. What's your immediate gut reaction? Don't judge it, just notice it. Is it anger? Defensiveness? A sinking feeling of embarrassment?
Oh, that's a common scenario. My initial reaction might be a surge of defensiveness, maybe a knot in my stomach.
Perfect. So, you've identified defensiveness and perhaps anxiety. Now, can you pause for a moment? Take a slow breath. Ask yourself, why am I reacting so strongly? Is it because you feel your competence is being questioned? Is it a fear of failure? Understanding the root helps you manage the immediate emotional storm.
Okay, so I recognize the defensiveness, and I might realize it's stemming from a past experience where I was unfairly criticized. Knowing that allows me to say, okay, this is a pattern and this situation might not be the same. It helps detach emotion from the current reality.
That's brilliant, Lisa. You're essentially creating space between the stimulus, the comment, and your response. This space is where effective self-regulation happens. You can then choose to respond calmly, perhaps by saying, "Thank you for your feedback. Can you help me understand your perspective a little more?" Instead of getting defensive.
That sounds so much more productive. So, for listeners, the first step is to really become an observer of your own emotions. Maybe even keep an emotion journal.
An emotion journal is an excellent idea. Note down what you were doing, what happened, what you felt, and how you reacted. Over time, you'll see patterns related to specific situations, people, or even times of day. This is deep self-awareness in action,
And once we're better at understanding our own emotions, we can start to tune into others. That's the social awareness piece.
right? Social awareness is about paying attention to nonverbal cues. How is someone's posture? What's their facial expression? What's the tone of their voice? These often convey more than their words. If a team member says they're fine, but their shoulders are slumped and they're avoiding eye contact, they're likely not fine.
So, it's about active listening, but with your eyes and ears, not just your ears for the words.
Precisely. And to build this skill, practice empathy. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Imagine what it would feel like to be in their situation with their background and pressures. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it helps you understand their emotional state.
That sounds challenging but so rewarding. It can de escalate conflicts before they even start by showing someone you understand their feelings.
Absolutely. And this leads directly into relationship management. When you understand yourself and can empathize with others, you're much better equipped to handle difficult conversations, give constructive feedback, and motivate your team. For example, if you see a team member is struggling, instead of just demanding they deliver, You might approach them with understanding.
I sense you might be having a tough time with this. How can I support you?
Exactly. That approach, born from emotional intelligence, builds trust and strengthens the relationship. It makes people feel valued and understood, which are huge motivators.
This episode is really about moving from knowing what emotions are to actively using that knowledge to lead better. It's about being more intentional with our interactions.
Indeed, think of it this way. An emotionally intelligent leader isn't swayed by every emotional gust of wind. They're the calm center, capable of navigating the emotional atmosphere of their team or organization with skill and composure. They understand that emotions are a natural part of the human experience, and when managed well, they can be a source of strength, creativity, and connection.
So, to summarize, we've explored the four cornerstones of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. We've discussed practical ways to cultivate these, like conscious emotional labeling, creating space between stimulus and response, and practicing empathy through active observation.
And remember, this isn't a quick fix. It's a continuous practice. The more you engage with these concepts, the more natural they become, and the more your ability to lead with composure under pressure will grow.
Next episode: the art of calm decision-making under pressure.
It's going to be another insightful episode. See you then. Welcome back to The Calm Leader. Today, we're exploring calm decision-making under pressure.
That's right, Alex. We've learned to manage our stress response and understand our emotions. But what happens when we have to make a critical choice when the stakes are high and time is short? It's easy for panic or strong feelings to cloud our judgment. This episode is all about cutting through that noise and making solid decisions.
Exactly, Lisa. Think about it. As leaders, we're constantly faced with situations that demand decisions. Market shifts, unexpected crises, personnel challenges. The list is endless. When pressure mounts, our brains can start playing tricks on us. Our natural instinct is often to react quickly, and sometimes that reaction isn't our best one.
It's like when you're trying to find your keys in a rush. You might glance over them because you're not looking carefully. You're just reacting to the need to leave, not observing where the keys actually are.
That's a perfect analogy. Our brains, under stress, tend to favor quick, familiar paths. This can lead us to fall prey to what we call cognitive biases. These are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment. They are essentially mental shortcuts that can lead us astray, especially when we're under duress.
Cognitive biases, so our own brains can betray us? That sounds a bit daunting. Can you give us an example?
Certainly, one common bias under pressure is confirmation bias. This is where we tend to seek out, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms our pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses. So, if we already think a certain solution is the right one, we'll unconsciously look for evidence to support it and ignore evidence that contradicts it.
Oh, I've seen that happen. People arguing, and each side is only hearing what proves their point, not what the other person is actually saying.
Precisely. Another one is the anchoring bias. This happens when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information offered, the anchor, when making decisions. Even if that initial piece of information is arbitrary, it can disproportionately influence our judgment. For instance, if a problem is first presented with a very small cost associated with it, we might later accept a higher cost as reasonable, without questioning it as much as we should.
So, our first impression, or the first number we hear, sticks with us, and everything else gets compared to that initial anchor. That makes sense why it's called anchoring.
Yes, and it's why a calm, deliberate approach is so important. We need to consciously counteract these tendencies. The first strategy we'll discuss for calm decision-making is what I call the think, then act framework. It sounds simple, but its power lies in its deliberate pacing.
Think, then act. So, instead of that immediate reactive impulse, we consciously insert a pause.
Exactly. This pause is where the magic happens. When faced with a decision, especially under pressure, resist the urge for instant action. Take a breath. Use those emotional regulation techniques we discussed earlier to bring your physiological state back to a more balanced baseline. Then, engage your rational mind.
So, the breath is the first tool. What's next in the think, then act framework?
After centering yourself, the next step is to define the problem clearly. What is the actual issue we need to solve? Often, when we're stressed, we don't clearly articulate the problem, so we end up trying to solve the wrong thing. Ask yourself, what is the core challenge? What does success look like?
That's a great point. It's like trying to steer a ship without knowing your destination. You need to know exactly where you're going to plot the course.
Beautifully put. Once the problem is defined, gather relevant information. And this is where we actively combat confirmation bias. Don't just look for information that supports what you want to be true. Actively seek out information that might challenge your initial assumptions. Look for dissenting opinions. Look for alternative viewpoints.
So, it's about being a detective, not just an advocate for your own ideas. You're seeking all the clues, not just the ones that fit a preconceived story.
Precisely. And then, evaluate your options. Brainstorm potential solutions. Don't censor yourself at this stage. Think broadly. Once you have a range of possibilities, then you can begin to analyze them. Consider the potential pros and cons, the risks, and the resources required for each.
This sounds like a much more robust way to arrive at a decision than just going with your gut, especially when your gut might be influenced by stress hormones.
Definitely. And another powerful strategy for making sound decisions under pressure is seeking diverse perspectives. This goes hand in hand with gathering information. No single person has all the answers. Surround yourself, when possible, with people who think differently from you. They can spot biases you've missed, offer insights you haven't considered, and challenge your conclusions in a constructive way.
And how do you encourage that kind of open feedback, especially if people are also feeling the pressure?
That's where your role as a calm leader truly shines. Create an environment where people feel safe to speak up, even if their opinion differs from yours or the majority. Foster psychological safety, where mistakes are seen as learning opportunities, not failures. When you model this openness, others are more likely to follow. Remember the emotional intelligence we discussed in episode 4? Understanding the emotions of your team members will help you gauge when and how to solicit their input.
So, it's about building that trust beforehand, so that when a critical decision needs to be made, you can draw on that collective wisdom.
Exactly. And to summarize our think, then act framework, first, pause and breathe to regain composure. Second, clearly define the problem. Third, gather a wide range of information, actively looking for contrary evidence. Fourth, evaluate your options thoroughly.
And complementing that, we have the strategy of actively seeking diverse perspectives, which really reinforces gathering that broad information base and helps us overcome our own blind spots.
Yes, by consciously implementing these steps, you move from a reactive state to a proactive one. You're not just responding to the situation, you're thoughtfully shaping the outcome. This deliberate process allows your rational mind to engage, reduces the likelihood of succumbing to biases, and increases the probability of making a sound, effective decision.
So, to recap for our listeners, when pressure is high, our brains can be inclined towards quick, unexamined reactions, often leading to cognitive biases like confirmation bias and anchoring bias. To combat this, we need a structured approach. The think, then act framework guides us through pausing, defining the problem, gathering broad information, and evaluating options. And crucially, we should actively seek out and value diverse perspectives.
You got it, Lisa. By practicing these techniques, you can transform those high-pressure moments from potential pitfalls into opportunities for clear, decisive leadership. You become a calm anchor, guiding your team through uncertainty with confidence.
It's about empowering ourselves to make choices that are not just fast, but right.
Indeed. And this ability to make sound decisions under pressure is a cornerstone of truly effective leadership. In our next episode, we'll build on this by looking at how to communicate your decisions and your overall message with that same sense of composure, inspiring confidence even in the most chaotic times. Next episode, Communicating with Composure, inspiring confidence in chaos. Welcome back. Last time, we explored calm decision-making under pressure. Today, we're focusing on outward influence.
That's such a vital topic, Alex. How a leader communicates can make all the difference when things get tough. It can either amplify anxiety or create stability.
Exactly. Your words, your tone, your body language, they send powerful signals. When you communicate from a place of calm, you project trustworthiness and control. You're an anchor in a storm.
An anchor. I like that. So, how do we project that steady authority, especially when we might be feeling internal turmoil?
It starts with intentionality. Our communication is a deliberate act. The first key is mindful delivery. This means being aware of your internal state before you speak. Are you rushing? Are you anxious? Take a slow breath, center yourself, and choose your words carefully. It's about pausing before responding, not reacting impulsively.
So, before you speak, you do a quick internal check-in. It's like an actor preparing for a scene, but the scene is a real-life leadership challenge.
Precisely. And this mindful delivery extends to our vocal tone and pace. Speaking calmly and deliberately makes your message carry more weight. Rapid, agitated speech can communicate panic. A steady, even tone reassures people. Imagine a calm voice saying everything is under control versus a fast-talking, high-pitched voice, which makes you feel more secure.
Definitely the calm, steady voice. It makes me feel more secure, even if the news isn't perfect.
And that feeling is what we're aiming for. This composure isn't about hiding problems. It's about presenting them constructively. This brings us to our next point, clarity and directness. When you communicate with composure, you don't waffle. You get to the point, and you use language that is easy to understand. Avoid jargon or complex sentences, especially in stressful times. People need clear direction, not confusion.
So, no beating around the bush. Just straightforward but not blunt communication.
Exactly. It's about being respectful while being clear. This clarity is crucial when delivering difficult news. How do you do that without shattering confidence?
That's a tough one. I imagine it involves acknowledging the gravity of the situation up front.
You've hit on a key element, honesty with empathy. When delivering bad news, acknowledge the difficulty. Say something like, I have some challenging information to share, or this is not the update we were hoping for. This sets expectations and shows you understand the impact. Then, present the facts clearly and concisely. Don't sugarcoat, but also don't be excessively harsh. After stating the facts, focus on what you can control. What are the next steps? What support is available?
So, it's about presenting the reality and then immediately pivoting to solutions or forward movement. That's practically a formula.
It is, and it's powerful. It shows resilience and a proactive approach. Another critical area is de-escalating tense conversations. Sometimes communication can become heated. A calm leader can diffuse that tension. How? By actively listening. Truly listen to understand the other person's perspective, even if you disagree. Use phrases that validate their feelings like, I hear your frustration, or I understand why you're concerned.
Active listening is so important. I think sometimes people just want to feel heard before they can listen themselves.
Absolutely. And while listening, maintain a calm demeanor. Avoid mirroring their agitation. If they raise your voice, you don't have to. Keep your tone even. Ask clarifying questions to ensure you understand correctly. This shows respect and can often disarm the situation. Then, reiterate your position or offer a path forward calmly and logically.
It's like offering a cool cloth to a fevered brow. You're bringing down the temperature of the conversation.
A perfect analogy, Lisa. And what about articulating clear direction during times of uncertainty? This is where a leader's composure truly shines. When there's ambiguity, people look to their leader for a signal. What message do they need to hear? They need to hear that you have a plan, even if that plan is to figure things out systematically.
So, even if the answer isn't fully formed, you communicate the process of finding the answer?
Precisely. You communicate vision and purpose. Remind your team of the overarching goals. Why are we doing this? What is our ultimate aim? This provides a sense of context and meaning, which can be incredibly stabilizing. Then, outline the immediate next steps. What is the very next thing that needs to happen? Break down large, overwhelming unknowns into smaller, manageable actions. This reduces anxiety and empowers individuals to contribute.
That's a great way to combat that feeling of being lost in the fog. You're providing signposts.
And don't underestimate the power of your nonverbal cues. Your posture, your eye contact, your facial expressions, they all speak volumes. Standing tall, maintaining steady eye contact, and offering a reassuring expression can convey confidence even when your words are focused on challenges. Conversely, slumped shoulders or a furrowed brow can undermine even the most calming words. Remember the anchor analogy? Your physical presence can be a powerful representation of that calm anchor.
So, it's the whole package: words, tone, body language, and the underlying intention of calm. It really does reinforce the confidence we want to inspire.
It does. And this consistent, composed communication builds trust over time. People learn to rely on your steady presence. They know that even in a crisis, you will communicate clearly, empathetically, and with a plan. This builds resilience not just in you, but in your entire team.
So, to recap what we've learned today about communicating with composure, it's about mindful delivery, maintaining a calm vocal tone and pace, ensuring clarity and directness in our messages, practicing honesty with empathy when delivering difficult news, actively listening and remaining calm to de-escalate tense conversations, articulating a clear vision and purpose while breaking down uncertainty into manageable steps, and finally, leveraging our nonverbal cues to project steady authority.
You've summarized that perfectly, Lisa. These are powerful tools that any leader can cultivate. By focusing on these communication strategies, you could transform moments of chaos into opportunities for strengthened leadership and team cohesion. This ability to communicate with composure is truly a cornerstone of inspiring confidence in the face of adversity.
It really is. It's not just about sounding calm. It's about creating an environment where others feel safe to perform their best, even when things are tough.
Exactly. And that leads us beautifully into our next episode. Next episode, building resilient teams.
I'm really looking forward to that.
As am I. Join us next time for episode 7. Last time, we discussed communicating with composure. Today, we're building on those skills to explore building resilient teams.
A leader isn't an island. The team is the engine, and if it's not running smoothly, the mission suffers. So, how does a leader actively build group resilience?
It starts with creating a psychologically safe environment. When team members fear making mistakes or being judged, they operate from a place of caution, not resilience. Psychological safety means they can take well-calculated risks and voice concerns without negative consequences.
So, it's okay to not be perfect under pressure?
Precisely. Acknowledging that stress is a natural part of challenging work is key. The goal is managing the response to stress, not eliminating it. When leaders talk openly about pressure and model healthy coping mechanisms, it signals safety to the team.
If the leader pretends everything is fine when it's not, the team will likely become more anxious.
You've hit on it. A calm, self-aware, and emotionally intelligent leader can address the collective mood. They can reassure and guide rather than reacting out of panic. This creates stability, allowing the team to stay grounded.
Let's discuss practical strategies for fostering this.
Effective delegation and support are powerful tools. The key is to empower, not create dependency. Delegate tasks that stretch abilities and provide the right kind of support.
What does that right kind of support look like under pressure?
It's about providing resources, guidance, and a listening ear without micromanaging. For a challenging project, a leader might say, "This is tough, I trust you. Here are the resources available, and we'll check in regularly to see how things are progressing and if you need any adjustments." This approach demonstrates trust and offers a vital safety net, encouraging self-reliance.
So, empower them to find solutions, with the leader as a guide and resource, not an overseer. This builds their confidence and resilience.
Exactly. Each successfully navigated challenge grows their belief in their own capabilities and the team's collective strength. This is the essence of resilience, developing the capacity to withstand and bounce back from hardship. And when leadership models this, it becomes contagious.
Fostering a sense of shared purpose also seems vital. Understanding why they're pushing through hardship can significantly help motivation.
Absolutely. Reminding the team of a larger goal or impact is incredibly motivating. When efforts feel meaningful, people are more inclined to persevere. This ties into clear, transparent communication about the situation, always framed within that bigger picture. Transparency, shared purpose, and trust are the cornerstones of a truly resilient team.
So, to recap, building team resilience involves creating psychological safety, where team members feel open and can take calculated risks. This means acknowledging and managing stress collectively.
Right. Then there's effective delegation that empowers individuals, coupled with supportive resources and guidance, not micromanagement. And crucially, fostering shared purpose helps keep the team motivated and focused.
And all of this is underpinned by the leader's own composure. A calm leader models these behaviors and creates an environment where the team can thrive under pressure rather than just survive it.
Precisely. A resilient team faces problems together and emerges stronger, with the leader's calm guidance acting as a steadying force. It's a proactive approach to team well-being and performance.
It's fascinating how these individual leadership skills create something much larger and more powerful in the team dynamic.
It truly is. The leader's calm creates a ripple effect, building a stronger, more capable team that can weather any storm. Next episode, we'll be navigating crisis situations. We'll explore strategies for maintaining unwavering leadership when the stakes are highest. Welcome back. Last time we explored how to build resilient teams. Now, let's tackle navigating crisis.
Absolutely, Alex. Crises can feel like being caught in a storm, and a leader's composure is the anchor that keeps everyone from being swept away. It's about more than just staying cool. It's about making the right decisions when everything around you is falling apart.
Exactly, Lisa. And the strategies we've discussed throughout this series are directly applicable. Remember rapidly assessing a situation, a skill we covered when talking about calm decision-making? That skill is turbocharged in a crisis. You can't afford to get bogged down. You need to gather essential information quickly, identify the core problem, and then act.
So, it's like a supercharged version of what's the essence of this problem without letting the panic of the situation cloud your judgment. You're looking for the critical few pieces of information that will drive the next steps.
Precisely. And this ties directly into cultivating emotional intelligence. In a crisis, your own emotions and your team's emotions will be high. A calm leader understands this. They recognize the fear, the anxiety, the frustration, but they don't let those emotions dictate their actions. They manage their own internal state to effectively manage the external situation.
This makes so much sense. It's about being aware of the emotional temperature but not letting it become your thermostat. You're observing, acknowledging, but ultimately guiding with a steady hand.
Think about it this way. Imagine a fire. A panicked leader might run around screaming, fanning the flames. A calm leader, however, quickly assesses the fire's size and spread, identifies escape routes, and directs people to safety in an orderly fashion. They're not denying the danger. They're managing the response to it.
That's a powerful analogy. So, when a crisis hits, what are some immediate, actionable strategies for a leader?
The first step is a rapid but focused assessment. What is the immediate threat? What resources do we have? Who needs to be informed immediately? This isn't about solving everything at once, but about prioritizing the most urgent needs to stabilize the situation. Next, make swift, decisive, yet considered decisions. Rely on your training, your experience, and your advisors, rather than succumbing to the urge to make a rushed, uninformed choice.
And when you say consider decisions, you don't mean taking ages, right? It's about making the best possible decision with the information available, knowing that you can and will adjust as needed.
Exactly. It's about making a good decision now, rather than waiting for a perfect decision later that may never come. One of the most critical elements, and something we touched on when discussing communication, is communicating with extreme clarity and consistency. In a crisis, misinformation spreads like wildfire. Your team needs clear, factual updates. They need to know what's happening, what you're doing, and what they need to do.
And I imagine that communication needs to be both direct and reassuring. Not everything is fine when it's clearly not, but rather this is the situation. Here's our plan, and we're working through it together.
Absolutely. Transparency builds trust, and trust is the bedrock of effective crisis management. It's about acknowledging the severity of the situation without amplifying the fear. Leaders who consistently communicated during the early days of the pandemic, for instance, by providing clear, data-driven updates, helped manage uncertainty and build confidence. Think of figures who, when faced with major public health emergencies, consistently and calmly shared information, outlining preventative measures and the rationale behind them. This approach, even in the face of grave news, provided a sense of control and direction.
That makes me think of a case study. Remember the Tylenol murders in the early 1980s? When several people died after taking cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules, it was a massive crisis for Johnson and Johnson.
A classic example. What did they do that exemplifies calm leadership under extreme pressure?
Well, the immediate response was a nationwide recall of all Tylenol products. This was a huge financial hit, but it prioritized public safety above all else. They didn't wait for definitive proof that wasn't their fault. They acted decisively to protect their customers.
That's a perfect illustration of prioritizing immediate harm reduction over short-term financial concerns. What else?
They cooperated fully with law enforcement and the media, providing consistent updates. They also redesigned their packaging to include tamper-evident seals. This showed they weren't just reacting, but they were proactively implementing solutions to prevent future incidents. Their calm, responsible, and transparent approach helped them regain public trust and ultimately brought Tylenol back to market successfully.
That's a powerful case study because it shows how prioritizing people, communicating transparently, and implementing robust solutions can turn a devastating crisis into a testament of responsible leadership. It demonstrates the value of those immediate assessment, controlled decision-making, and clear communication principles we've been discussing.
It really does. And it highlights that crisis leadership isn't just about reacting brilliantly in the moment, but about having the foresight to build in safeguards for the future.
And ultimately, it reinforces the idea that a leader's composure is contagious. When you can navigate a crisis with a calm, steady hand, you empower your team to do the same. You become the anchor, the reassuring voice, the symbol of stability. This unwavering presence can make the difference between succumbing to chaos and emerging stronger.
So, to recap, when a crisis hits, leaders should focus on rapid assessment, making swift but considered decisions, communicating with absolute clarity and consistency, and prioritizing safety and transparency, just like Johnson and Johnson did during the Tylenol crisis. It's about being the calm in the storm.
Exactly, Lisa. And remember, the skills you've honed throughout this series, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, deliberate decision-making, and clear communication, are your most potent tools for navigating any crisis. Next episode, the leader as a calm anchor, managing fear and uncertainty. Welcome back to The Calm Leader. In our last episode, we explored navigating intense situations during a crisis.
That's right, Alex. We learned practical crisis management techniques. Today, in episode 9, we're focusing on becoming a calm anchor, managing fear and uncertainty within yourself and your team.
Fear and uncertainty spread rapidly, and people look to leaders for cues. If the leader is anxious, that fear can infect the entire team.
So, a calm leader acknowledges problems but doesn't let fear dictate actions.
Precisely. Think of a ship's captain in a storm. The captain acknowledges the storm, assesses it, and steers with expertise and calm. The leader is that anchor for their team.
That's a powerful analogy. How does a leader practically embody this when feeling pressure?
It starts with self-awareness. Recognize your own feelings of fear or uncertainty. Pause, breathe, remind yourself of your role. Acknowledge the emotion without letting it control you. This internal work is foundational.
So, internal emotional regulation is key before projecting calm externally.
Exactly. To your team, this looks like transparency delivered with confidence. You can say, I understand this is a period of uncertainty. We face X challenges. Here's what we know, and here's our plan. We'll share updates as we have them. This approach validates their feelings and offers a clear path forward.
Validating the emotion is vital. When people's concerns are heard and understood, they tend to trust the leadership's direction more.
You've hit on a crucial element, trust. Transparency about challenges, coupled with a clear, actionable plan, builds trust. It demonstrates that the leader isn't hiding anything, but rather facing the situation head-on. This directly applies the emotional intelligence principles we discussed earlier. Understanding and managing your own emotions, and in turn, understanding and managing the emotions of others.
Right. How can leaders encourage their teams to voice fear constructively?
Create safe and open channels for communication. Encourage genuine dialogue through team meetings, one-on-one check-ins, or dedicated feedback mechanisms. The goal is to hear their concerns, acknowledge them genuinely, and address them thoughtfully. If a concern can't be resolved immediately, explain why transparently and outline what steps are being taken.
So, it's a proactive process of listening, acknowledging, and responding.
Precisely. And leaders must consistently demonstrate belief in their team's capability. When you project confidence in them, they're far more likely to believe in themselves. Your calm confidence can be genuinely contagious, lifting the entire team's morale and outlook.
This makes so much sense. It's about being the steady hand. You're actively navigating the challenges, and your calm presence gives the crew the confidence to perform their roles effectively.
It's a continuous practice. Leading as a calm anchor requires consistent effort, especially during times of uncertainty. Leaders need to model resilience in their actions, showing how they bounce back from setbacks, learn from experiences, and keep moving forward productively.
So, to recap for our listeners, what are the key takeaways for leaders aiming to be a calm anchor?
First, practice self-awareness to manage your own emotions. Acknowledge your fear without letting it take control. Second, be transparent with your team about the challenges and your plan forward. This transparency is a powerful trust builder. Third, create safe spaces for your team to express their concerns openly. Listen actively and respond thoughtfully. Finally, demonstrate unwavering confidence in your team's ability to overcome challenges. Your belief in them is a profound motivator.
That's a fantastic summary, Alex. It really boils down to authenticity in communication and a steadfast belief in your team and the process. It's about being present, real, and a consistent source of stability for everyone.
And that stability allows everyone to focus on their tasks, to innovate, and to find solutions rather than being consumed by anxiety or guesswork. It allows the collective intelligence and creativity of the team to truly shine. Next episode, maintaining long-term composure, habits of the effective leader. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to be a calm anchor in crisis. Today, we're focusing on maintaining long-term composure through sustainable habits.
It's one thing to be calm in a storm, Alex, but another to stay centered day after day. What habits help leaders sustain that composure over time?
The first foundational habit is prioritizing well-being. Leaders must refuel to avoid pouring from an empty cup. This means dedicated time for rest, sufficient sleep, healthy nutrition, and regular physical activity. They are essential for a high-performing mind and body.
So it's not just pushing through, but actively preparing. How can leaders overcome guilt about self-care?
Reframe it as a non-negotiable job requirement. Like a pilot checking a plane, leaders must ensure they're operating at their best. This involves setting boundaries, learning to say no to non-essentials, delegating, and protecting personal time. Conscious disconnection is key for recovery.
That makes sense. Burnout isn't a badge of honor, but a sign of unsustainable systems. What else helps maintain long-term composure?
Continuous learning and intellectual curiosity are critical. Curious leaders are more adaptable and resilient. They view challenges as opportunities to grow, not disruptions. This involves reading, workshops, seeking new perspectives, and thoughtful conversations to keep the mind agile.
I can see how that would help. Encountering new things and figuring them out makes a disruption feel like a puzzle, not an earthquake.
Exactly. This connects to actively seeking and acting on feedback. Resilient leaders welcome constructive criticism, viewing it as valuable for refinement. They create environments where feedback is solicited and acted upon, enhancing their leadership skills. This is where practiced emotional intelligence truly shines.
So, feedback is an opportunity for improvement, keeping leaders sharp and evolving.
Precisely. And building and nurturing a strong network is another essential habit. Leaders aren't islands. Cultivating relationships with trusted mentors, peer groups, and supportive friends and family provides perspective and encouragement. This network acts as a sounding board and a source of strength.
That's so important. The top can feel isolating, so having that community must be invaluable. It's like a built-in consulting team.
A perfect analogy. Another habit is mindfulness and reflection. Taking a few minutes daily to be present and notice thoughts without judgment is powerful. This allows leaders to catch rising stress and consciously process events, identify lessons, and plan with greater clarity. It's an internal reset.
So, Instead of rumination, mindfulness and reflection offer conscious processing and forward movement. It's intentional self-management.
Absolutely. And underpinning all of this is cultivating a strong sense of purpose and values. Knowing why you lead and having a clear ethical compass provides an unwavering anchor. This clarity helps leaders remain calm even when external circumstances are chaotic because they know what truly matters.
This is a comprehensive picture, Alex. To recap, sustained composure isn't innate, it's cultivated. Key habits include prioritizing well-being and boundaries, continuous learning, acting on feedback, building a support network, practicing mindfulness and reflection, and staying grounded in purpose and values.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. These are not quick fixes, but dedicated practices that build resilience, prevent burnout, and foster sustainable effectiveness. Composure is a cultivated skill.
It's about building systems that support your capacity to lead calmly every day. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode.
Indeed, our series is nearing its end. And in our next episode, we'll look at how leaders can use pressure as a catalyst for growth.
Next episode, feedback and growth, using pressure as a catalyst.
Welcome back to The Calm Leader. Last time, we explored how to become a steady anchor for your team during times of fear and uncertainty. Today, we're focusing on using feedback and pressure as catalysts for growth.
That sounds like a powerful combination, Alex. Pressure is rarely comfortable, but if we can learn to harness it, it can propel us forward. So, how do we go from feeling overwhelmed by pressure to actively using it for development?
It all comes down to perspective and intentionality. We've discussed managing your internal state when pressure mounts. Now, we're looking outward and inward with a focus on learning. Challenging, high-pressure moments are like unintended training grounds. To benefit, we need to actively process those experiences by debriefing effectively, both individually and with our teams.
Debriefing. That makes sense. It's like a project postmortem. But how do we make that process constructive, especially when emotions might be high or there's a tendency to point fingers?
A blame-filled postmortem is counterproductive. We need a safe space for honest but constructive feedback. For individual leaders, this means actively seeking out feedback. You have to ask, and when you ask, be specific. Instead of a general, "How am I doing?" Try something like, "During that intense client negotiation last week, how effective do you think my communication was? Was there anything I could have done differently to de-escalate tension?"
That's a great point. Being specific makes feedback actionable and signals that you're genuinely ready to hear it. So, as a leader, you're proactively asking for input on your performance, particularly in those pressure cooker moments.
Precisely. And it's not just about asking, it's about listening. Truly listening, without interrupting or defending. Hear what's being said, acknowledge it. Understanding the other person's perspective is invaluable. Growth happens when you reflect on that feedback, flexing that self-awareness muscle from episode 3. Analyze the feedback against your own perception. Where do they align? Where do they diverge? And why?
So, it's a feedback loop. Ask, listen, reflect, and adjust. It's like fine-tuning a complex instrument. Each piece of feedback is a tiny adjustment that helps you play better overall. This also applies to giving feedback to your team, doesn't it? Leaders need to provide feedback to help them grow, especially after high-pressure events.
Absolutely. Giving feedback under pressure or about pressure-filled events requires calm. First, try to give feedback as close to the event as possible while details are fresh. But critically, create the right environment. Don't ambush someone. Schedule time to talk. Frame it constructively. Start with what went well. Acknowledge effort and challenges. Then, move to areas for improvement, being specific and focusing on behavior, not personality.
Right.
It's not saying, you were too emotional. It's saying, I noticed that when the client raised their voice, your voice also rose. In future, what's a strategy you could try to maintain a calm tone, even if the other person doesn't?
Perfectly put. Just like receiving feedback, the goal of giving feedback is to foster growth and learning. Encourage your team to ask questions and brainstorm solutions. Make it a collaborative process. This also builds trust. When your team sees you offering constructive feedback, and when they experience you receiving it gracefully, it strengthens your relationships.
This ties back to episode 7, Building Resilient Teams. Creating a culture where feedback is welcomed and acted upon is fundamental to resilience. Teams that can candidly discuss what went wrong and how to improve are far more adaptable.
Indeed. Now, let's talk about objective analysis of high-pressure events. When a crisis hits or a project goes sideways, our initial reaction can be dominated by emotions, frustration, anxiety, even fear. We need to move past that initial emotional wave to gain clarity. This is where learning from mistakes and successes truly begins.
How do we do that objectively? It feels like our memories can be colored by how we felt at the time.
That's a relatable challenge. One technique is to intentionally separate facts from feelings. Gather factual data. What happened chronologically? What decisions were made and by whom? What were the immediate outcomes? Once you have a clear, objective timeline, you can then start to layer on your observations and feelings and ask the crucial why questions. Why did this happen? Why was this decision made? Why do people react this way? Think of it like a detective case. You're not the suspect or the victim. You're the impartial investigator. Review the evidence, the data, the reports, the timelines. Then, analyze the human element. Were there communication breakdowns? Were roles unclear? Did a lack of foresight contribute? This objective dissection allows you to identify patterns and root causes.
This sounds like a direct application of the self-awareness and emotional intelligence we discussed earlier. You're pausing that initial emotional reaction to engage your rational mind and analyze the situation dispassionately.
Precisely. And this applies to successes too. Don't just analyze what went wrong. Understand what went right in high-pressure situations. What strategies were effective? What decision-making processes worked well? What communication approaches fostered calm? Documenting these successes is just as important. It reinforces good habits and provides a blueprint for future challenges.
So, we're essentially building a playbook of what works and what doesn't work for our specific leadership context, all derived from real-world pressure. And how do we ensure these lessons are integrated and don't just fade away?
That's where consistent practice comes in. Make debriefing a regular part of your leadership rhythm, not just a reaction to a disaster. Schedule time weekly or bi-weekly to review recent challenges, big or small. Discuss them with your trusted advisors or your team. And most importantly, actively apply the lessons learned. If you identify a communication improvement, make a conscious effort to implement it. If you discover a more effective way to manage your stress response during a difficult meeting, consciously employ that strategy.
It's about turning those pressure points into learning opportunities, not just surviving them, but thriving because of them. We're using the heat of the moment to forge a stronger, more capable leader. And this, of course, ripples out to create a more robust and effective team.
Exactly. So, to recap, we're looking at feedback and pressure as catalysts for growth. This involves actively soliciting and graciously receiving feedback, providing constructive feedback to our teams, and objectively analyzing both successes and failures in high-pressure situations. By doing this consistently, we build our own capabilities and empower our teams to do the same. It's about continuous improvement, driven by the very challenges we face.
It really shifts the perspective of pressure from something to be endured to something to be leveraged.
That's the hallmark of a truly calm and growing leader. Next time, we'll be looking at how to lead your organization through significant transformations, maintaining that composure when the ground is shifting beneath everyone's feet. Next episode, Leading Through Transformation, Calmness in the Face of Change. Welcome back to The Calm Leader. Last time, we explored how feedback and pressure can fuel growth.
That's right, Alex. It was about turning those interactions into opportunities. Now, as we reach our 12th and penultimate episode, we're diving into leading through transformation.
Transformation. It can excite, but also cause anxiety. Whether it's restructuring or a new strategy, leading through change requires a leader to be an anchor of calm. This is where all our principles truly come into play.
So, how do we translate calm leadership into these turbulent periods? What are the key ingredients for a leader to be steady when everything feels like it's in flux?
The first critical element is crystal clear communication of vision. When an organization is transforming, people need to understand why and what the desired future looks like. You must articulate this vision with unwavering conviction. Picture yourself as a ship captain. If a storm is brewing, you don't just yell about the waves. You point towards the safe harbor and explain how you'll navigate the rough seas to get there.
That's a great analogy. It's not just stating facts, but painting a compelling picture of the destination. And this vision needs to be communicated repeatedly, in different ways.
Absolutely. Repetition and different channels are key. You weave the vision into meetings, one-on-ones, even in formal conversations. Importantly, you need to answer questions stemming from uncertainty. This brings us to managing resistance. Change inevitably brings resistance, and a calm leader doesn't shy away. They approach it with empathy and understanding.
So, instead of seeing resistance as a roadblock, a calm leader listens and addresses concerns?
Precisely. You want to understand the root of the resistance. Fear of the unknown, concern about losing a role, or a belief that the change isn't right. By listening actively and responding thoughtfully, rather than defensively, you begin to disarm that resistance. Remember episode 6 on communicating with composure? Your tone, body language, and words signal whether you are present and willing to engage or simply dismissing concerns.
I recall we talked about how composure isn't suppressing emotions, but managing them and responding constructively. So, with resistance, it's about acknowledging people's feelings without letting them derail the direction.
Exactly. And this leads into maintaining team morale. Transformation can be exhausting. People's energy can wane and doubts can creep in. Your role in maintaining morale is paramount. How? By embodying the calm and confidence you want your team to feel. This doesn't mean pretending everything is easy. It means demonstrating you have a plan, you are committed, and you believe in their ability to navigate the change with you.
So, it's about showcasing resilience through your own actions and attitude. When we discussed building resilient teams in episode 7, this feels like a direct application, amplified during upheaval.
You've hit it, Lisa. It's amplification. Think of the leader as the calm anchor during a storm. The anchor doesn't stop the waves, but it keeps the ship from drifting. By staying grounded, accessible, and consistent, you provide stability. This also involves being transparent within reasonable bounds. When people feel informed, even about difficult aspects, they feel more in control.
Transparency is so important. It builds trust, and trust is the bedrock of any successful team, especially during change.
And this brings us to a crucial aspect, decisiveness. Transformation requires making decisions, sometimes difficult ones, and moving forward. Hesitation can paralyze a team. While you've listened to concerns and explored options, a decision needs to be made and communicated clearly. This ties back to episode 5 on calm decision-making under pressure. Your ability to make well-considered, timely decisions, even with incomplete information, is a hallmark of a transformative leader who can inspire confidence.
So, we have clear communication of vision, empathetic management of resistance, consistent efforts to maintain team morale, transparency, and decisive action. These sound like the core components of calm leadership tested rigorously during transformation.
They are, and they're interconnected. Your clear vision supports your communication. Your empathetic approach to resistance helps maintain morale. Your transparency builds trust that enables decisive action. It's a synergistic effect. Imagine a complex puzzle. Each skill fits together to create the complete picture of calm transformation leadership.
So, to recap for our listeners, when leading through transformation, remember to 1. Paint a clear and compelling vision. 2. Listen to and address resistance with empathy. 3. Actively work to maintain team morale by embodying calm and confidence. 4. Be as transparent as possible. And 5. Make timely and decisive decisions.
Excellent summary. This episode has synthesized many core themes. Leading through transformation is one of the highest pressure situations a leader can face. It demands you draw upon your ability to remain composed, communicate effectively, and inspire trust. By grounding yourself in these principles, you can guide your team through significant changes, not just surviving, but thriving. Next episode, the legacy of calm leadership. Welcome back. Today, we're concluding our series on calm leadership.
It's hard to believe we're at the end. Over these past 12 episodes, we've learned so much about transforming how we lead. Alex, can you remind us of the foundational principle we started with?
Absolutely, Lisa. We began by establishing the unshakable foundation of calm leadership. This isn't about being emotionless, but about understanding our internal landscape and choosing our responses consciously rather than being dictated by immediate reactions. It's about leading from a place of clarity, not chaos.
Right. And that clarity allows us to tackle those immediate tools for leaders, like taming the stress response. Remember those breathing exercises and grounding techniques we discussed? They're simple, but incredibly powerful for bringing us back to center in stressful moments.
Precisely. Those immediate tools are crucial, but to truly sustain calm, we need deeper self-awareness. That's where we explored the power of self-awareness. Understanding our individual triggers, those things that reliably push our buttons, is the first step to disarming them.
And from recognizing our triggers, we moved into cultivating emotional intelligence. This is about not just understanding our own emotions, but also empathizing with and influencing the emotions of others. It's key to building strong relationships.
You've got it. And with that emotional intelligence in hand, we were ready to talk about the art of calm decision-making under pressure. We learned how to pause, gather information, and make sound judgments even when facing a crisis. It's about avoiding impulsive choices.
I remember that one. It's like when everything is swirling around you, a calm leader can actually see the path forward more clearly. And that ability to communicate that clarity is so vital. Communicating with composure, right? Inspiring confidence through calm, assertive communication.
Exactly. A leader's tone, their body language, their choice of words, all of it conveys a sense of stability. This, in turn, helps to build resilient teams. When a leader models calmness, it creates a ripple effect throughout the entire group, enabling them to face challenges together more effectively.
And speaking of challenges, we dove deep into navigating crisis. Those strategies for unwavering leadership are so critical. It's about being the steady hand when the storm hits and preventing panic from taking hold.
That steady hand acts as a calm anchor, and that's precisely what we discussed. The leader as a calm anchor, managing fear and uncertainty. It's about acknowledging the fear that exists, but not letting it steer the ship.
So, we've learned how to be steady in the moment, but what about the long haul? We covered maintaining long-term composure and those habits of the effective leader. It's about making these practices a consistent part of our leadership style, not just a reactive measure.
And part of that long-term practice is growth. We explored feedback and growth, using pressure not as something to be avoided, but as a catalyst for improvement. How can we learn from challenging situations?
that brings us to leading through transformation. Change can be incredibly destabilizing, and a calm leader is essential for guiding their team through those periods of uncertainty and flux. It's about embracing change with an open, composed mind.
And now, here we are. We've covered the journey from building that internal foundation of calm to leading teams through immense pressure and change. The lessons we've discussed aren't just for the moment, they build a legacy.
A legacy. That's such a powerful word. What does that legacy of calm leadership truly look like, Alex?
It looks like a workplace where people feel safe, heard, and confident to do their best work. It's an environment where innovation can flourish because people aren't paralyzed by fear. It's a culture that's not just productive, but also emotionally healthy. Think about the teams you've been a part of, Lisa, where the leader was just unflappable.
Oh, absolutely. You wanted to go the extra mile for them. You trusted their judgment, and you felt a sense of security, even when things were tough. It's like a positive gravitational pull. It draws people in and helps them to be their best selves. It impacts not just performance, but morale and team cohesion.
Precisely. That steady, composed demeanor creates a stable environment. And this impact extends beyond the immediate team, influencing the entire organizational culture. A consistently calm leader can foster an atmosphere of trust and psychological safety, which are the bedrock of high-performing organizations.
And it's not just about others. The leader themselves benefits immensely. Isn't that right? It's not a sacrifice, but a way to enhance their own well-being and effectiveness.
Absolutely. When we practice calm leadership, we reduce our own burnout. We make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and experience greater fulfillment in our roles. It's a virtuous cycle. The calm we cultivate internally radiates outward, and the positive responses we receive reinforce that calm.
So, the legacy isn't just about what we achieve in terms of goals and targets, but about the kind of environment we create and the long-term well-being of everyone involved. It's about inspiring future leaders, too.
Exactly. By embodying these principles, we serve as role models. Future leaders will learn from our example, seeing that composure isn't a rare talent, but a developed skill. They'll witness that leading with empathy and a steady hand is not only possible, but profoundly effective.
It's like planting seeds. We've cultivated our own calm leadership, and in doing so, we've given others the tools and the inspiration to do the same. It's about making a lasting, positive difference.
That's the essence of it, Lisa. The legacy of calm leadership is a profound and positive ripple effect. It's about creating environments where people not only survive pressure, but thrive. It's about making conscious choices that build trust, foster resilience, and inspire lasting success.
It's been an incredible journey exploring these principles. From understanding our stress response to building resilient teams and leaving a lasting impact, calm leadership is a vital skill for anyone in a position of influence.
It truly is. And as we conclude this series, I encourage each of you to continue practicing these principles every day. Make calm your default and watch how it transforms your leadership, your teams, and your own well-being.
Thank you, Alex. And thank you all for joining us. We hope it's equipped you with the tools and the mindset to lead with unwavering composure.
Thanks for listening to the series.